this article here on NPR?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. He has been stricken from the internet.
Chad, you want to give a brief description, I guess?
Yeah, I mean,
of what happened, that's all.
As far as I know, and I can't say anything specific about the 2 weeks ago, but something happened in some minor way with some big platform a couple weeks ago. And then it was sort of building up for a little bit. And then just over the past recent, in a very short span of time, it was Twitter, it was YouTube, it was like SoundCloud and Spotify, Facebook. They all just deleted him. They completely removed him from the platform, which that's interesting. Interesting that it all happened at once, but I'm more interested in seeing whether or not you guys think it was justified. And not necessarily justified, but
a lot of ways you could approach this.
I mean, because we all know Alex Jones. He's kind of a meme at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people follow him. A lot of people follow him.
A lot of people do. Hey,
a lot of people do, yeah. But the frogs are freaking gay has kind of, you know.
Sure.
The waters turn the frogs gay.
I saw a clip the other day. It was on Secular Talk. It was like a video of Secular Talk, and he showed a clip of Alex Jones about to swear, and then he stops himself and he goes, "This is a family show." And I was like, what? He's like, "Kids watch." I'm like, excuse?
No, I don't know how much. Have you guys ever actually tried to watch? Because I have more than a few times.
No,
just
but
gone straight into that rabbit hole and watch.
Well, hang on. I don't even care about that. If you don't mind, let me just simulate the conversation here with,
Sure.
Obviously, tell me if you guys disagree. Apple and these companies have a right to remove them from their platform just as much as Alex Jones has a right to say, like, I should have my free speech rights, and not free speech rights, but like I should at least not be censored in a way. Right? Like, can we both agree that there's an argument to be made on both sides?
Yeah.
No?
I mean, obviously you have a right to your own platform. Here's the thing. These platforms sell advertisements. Yeah. That's their sustenance. Sure. That's the revenue for the most part. So
sure,
they have to make sure they present a clean image, I suppose, to advertisers.
Okay.
But
yeah, this is what I was going to say. I see arguments coming from both sides. This is like really 50-50 for me. Like, Apple has every right to pull him just as much as he has every right to at least have a medium. And he has the internet. He can just like start a website.
Right. Like,
so he has every right to start his own website and post. Like, he shouldn't be thrown in jail or muted or like censored for good by the government. Nothing like that. That's crazy. So my point is there's arguments to be made on both sides. The real question here is, who do you agree with more? Because it's so even. And honestly, and I told Chad a little bit about this before Caleb, you got on, so he knows a little bit. But honestly, I side with the platforms, and this is why.
I'd have to agree.
This is why. I don't really believe that we can totally just make people go away by exposing stupidity. Right. I think that there's a degree of danger we have in this country, whether it's because we have so many people that we have 330 million people in this country. You don't think that a million of us are gullible enough to like listen and hear what Alex Jones says and actually believe him? And by the way, you don't have to think about it. He has a following that's way more than a million people.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's dangerous. Do some people get turned off, like us, get turned off from Alex Jones because we can see through his BS? Yes. And not some, most. But in this day and age where as long as you have a community of 10,000, you can make some noise on the news because they just cover you because you're crazy. In this day and age, when that's louder than the moderates of us in the center, I'm okay with them pulling him because he riles up so many people.
Well, see, that's the question. Because the question is, what kind of influence do you have as a leader? Because if you guys remember correctly, the Pizzagate conspiracy was kind of being spearheaded by Alex Jones and InfoWars. And a couple weeks later, a guy took his AR-15 went to the pizzeria in question and actually went in the store and demanded to see the basement. And like took people hostage for a short amount of time. That actually might not be true, but there was some sort of
not take people
altercation
hostage.
with him. Did he not?
No, he didn't.
So what
But
did
I
he
think he,
do?
like,
Just shut up
shot.
with his gun and then he
Yeah,
shot,
well,
right?
no,
He
I think
definitely
he
shot.
Yeah, he shot. He popped some rounds off.
But it's like, to what extent do figureheads, or at least people with a following, have a responsibility to their followers? Because let's talk about not Jim Jones. What's his name?
Jones.
Pastor Jim Baker.
No.
Damn, I thought that's who you meant.
Oh my God, his name is Charles Manson. Because he never actually killed anybody, right?
Yeah,
But his followers were explicitly instructed to murder people.
I'm gonna just lightly push back with like,
obviously that's not comparable, but I'm saying
many
like,
people
just
followed him. Yes, anytime someone's murdered, that's devastating. But it wasn't a large amount of people that followed him. He did it pre-internet age, which to me, at that point, shit happens. Like, you're gonna have cult leaders, you're gonna have people. Like, Jonestown was only like 500 people. Like, pre-internet
900.
days, these things were contained because
919.
the spread of misinformation and the spread of information these days is so effing fast that, and the news, there's so much news that covers literally everything. All you need is a following enough to make them to be able to profit off it. How many YouTubers only have like 50K followers, but probably still make 40, 50K a year from that? Just a small following. You have a legit YouTube channel with a small following, and then you say something incendiary, and then all of a sudden, people who have biases to show the other side to be stupid, like the right and left, whenever the right fringe says something dumb happens, the left's like, look at the right, that's crazy. But really, it's just fringe. Someone who's got like, Chad, you've showed us like those like black nationalist videos where people are just like, oh, white people are garbage and they're all supposed to die and they're terrible. These are fringe
white people are racist.
I believe that Chad Dunham can watch that video and not worry about it and know that the context makes it not a big deal. But like, I don't know that everybody can do that. And I worry that if we let Alex Jones spread misinformation so much in this day and age where you only need, you know what I'm saying? You know,
I know one of his biggest mediums is his radio syndicate. So I wonder if radio stations are going to follow suit and take him off the airwaves. You don't think so?
I don't see that happening.
No, because
all of
radio
these
stations are limited in their
exactly
revenue.
That's like pre-internet stuff to me.
The
internet is what
how
makes
all of this big media moved in lockstep is what it seemed like. They all said Alex Jones is blacklisted. He's blacklisted on all of the big media.
I think there had to be some sort of like collusion between them, not in a negative way, but like they colluded together.
Word of 2018.
Okay, collusion doesn't have to be negative, but like they got together and said like, hey, this might not be a good idea. What do you think? And maybe like talked about it. And
I don't think it happened that way at all.
You don't think so? Okay.
No,
I think they just followed an example.
I think one of them knows another guy
fell.
that works at this other joint, and I mean, just like any other large industry, a lot of these specific, YouTube, Apple, and Facebook, they all compete against each other to some degree, right? So you can imagine that some of the higher level execs have been hired at other firms to try to compete against one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I came from Apple and I'm working at YouTube, but I still have homies at Apple, and they're like, on the DL, they're talking about fucking shit cannabis. They're like, oh shit, that's crazy. Oh man. They hang up the phone, the first thing they're gonna do is call their boss and be like, oh, they're thinking of shit canning Alex Jones. They go, really? All right, hold on. I'll talk to you in a little bit. They hang up the phone and he calls his buddy that's over at Instagram. You know what I mean? Like,
why is that any different than the collusion I just talked about?
So
why is that any different than the collusion I just talked? Well, I guess it is
because
a little.
You made it sound like
sure.
We're all gonna get on the same email chain.
Like
you're
a
right,
concerted effort.
You're right.
Mark Zuckerberg met with.
Sure, you're right. I take that back.
What
I'll say is this. It is still a level of collusion when
fuck this guy.
It is still a level of collusion when your social peers, you take that pressure and shut it down yourself. You could still be Spotify and say, nope, you know what? Even though they did that, we're not going to do that. But there's still a level of like working together that the dominoes all fell together like that. Like not as much as I said, but
maybe there's a standard set, and then once one of the big giants sets that new standard for advertising,
But this is pretty quick.
They all follow suit. It was
This
so
wasn't
quick, though,
yeah,
right?
this wasn't like the standard was set and it took a few months or something. It was boom. So
it seemed like people had their finger on the trigger and they all.
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know, but to
Now,
be honest,
I don't know
let's be honest,
specifically. It
'cause
could've-
the moment that Alex Jones went into the arena of Sandy Hook wasn't a real thing, and
What a
then
piece of
you
crap.
had a lot of Infowars listeners getting like doxing parents of Sandy Hook killed children and pestering these people and calling them and like I kind of gripe with somebody spreading really bad information like that because it can just lead to a lot of bad stuff. But I mean, how do you even draw that line?
I think that's the difficult part, and we as a society should not leave that to private interests or private corporations to make that determination.
Yeah, but surely if a
That's
private,
difficult, right?
well, but if this private corporation abuses that power, capitalism wins, right? People will just choose a new medium,
Right.
right? No, I mean that's what I would think. I mean, I know
I don't know if it would work that way. I would
YouTube
hope
has been
it would,
abusing
but-
small content creators like for years now, and there's been a lot of talk of trying to jump to some new hosted. I mean, it'd be tough to do, but
you
it's
just
not
said for
possible.
years now, so that kind of
Well,
disproves
no,
it.
frustration has been mounting. Not that people have been making a concerted effort to switch.
So my question is specifically, especially to what Caleb just said, is so you think that if Apple has a podcast, or if any entity has a podcast hosting service, they're obliged to host every single podcast? They can't pick and choose what they want?
No,
they-
that's not what I'm
okay.
saying. I'm just saying that's where I struggle with this idea. Is
But
that,
yeah, surely you have to set
then
standards
if that's not
somewhere.
what you're saying, why do you struggle with that idea? They can just put up and take down whatever the fuck they want. Why not?
because then that power can just as easily be abused as the ones that you're talking about.
But in this day and age in the internet, you could just start your own website and post something. Like this is like I don't
Right, you
know.
can build
That's
a new
great,
platform. It's
Yeah.
hard because it's like because
especially when you're Alex Jones, you're so nichey. Like people will follow you. I don't understand.
maybe not though, because you build a platform where people come to congregate, and then maybe it's honestly like almost a matter of convenience.
Mhm.
We're on this platform already. People on Facebook aren't going to be scrolling through their Alex Jones daily news anymore, but they're still going to keep using Facebook.
So,
I guess is the argument.
Follow up question too.
It's kind of censorship,
If I
not by government.
if I'm a person who built my own website, wrote my own code, hosted my own podcast, since I host my own podcast and built it all myself, am I now obliged to host all podcasts out there? Like, where's the line? Right? Like,
No.
I don't think that's the discussion. Right?
Okay.
Whereas is there a line, and B, if so, where is that line? And
There
I
has
think,
to be a line,
I
though,
think
right?
it's not the best, I think. I don't know. I guess I could see it two ways, because like my thought process is to have it in the handful of a couple of private companies that ultimately make that determination is like, I don't know, like that's cringy, but at the same time, like the way that government goes about its business is such a long and tedious process, whereas private entities, like, so they all kicked Alex Jones off. If his fans make loud enough noise, they might put him back on.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but
And
they
I wonder if that's but you don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't
Listen,
know
there's
that.
a lot of people that tune into Alex Jones on the radio daily, but in terms of his online viewership and in terms of his like Facebook traffic, he really didn't do a lot. It's interesting. The biggest numbers that he does, I think, is on his radio syndicate. Interestingly enough, interpret that as you will, but he really, when you look at his YouTube channel, it's like 50,000 views per video.
Oh,
there's
he's got
not a lot of engagement.
tons of followers on YouTube, bro. He has like 2 million.
Yeah, but these people aren't active users. They're not.
How do you know that? What?
Look at the numbers. Look at his
I
recent
don't
videos. Nothing gets above 100,000 even. That's
Okay.
such a
I
small
see. Okay.
percentage of his
Maybe
subscribers.
it's a lot of Russian trolls. I don't know.
So I don't know. I don't know that there will be
yeah.
a big backlash. I think this is just gonna smooth over.
Yeah, I
And
just
then
think
Alex
for
Jones,
me,
he has his own website. He can keep hosting content. So if people really are motivated to, he's not censored. He still has a platform.
Right. Exactly. And for me, context of how easy it is to spread information matters, right? So if this is 1940, and you only had a few mediums and it took millions, huge investments just to build the infrastructure, just to like start distributing information like newspapers or anything, then sure, it might be frightening because an Alex Jones who gets removed from papers can't just spend millions and millions of dollars to start his own newspaper, right? But it's the internet age, man. Just spend $60 and open a website and start recording yourself and, you know, post it. So I'm really not sympathetic to that argument that like, you know,
It's
like
it's kind of
easy.
censorship, but it's not really.
Yeah, but it's so easy. This is why I love technology. I see technology as something.
Right.
The
You
biggest
could
thing
subvert
that's gonna, the biggest thing that's going to allow us to cut regulations in all facets of society is technology. The biggest thing that's going to make government more efficient in the future is technology. Technology is the
Right.
key for the future. Technology is great. Technology allows Alex Jones to just start his own website for $60 and start spreading information out there. It's also dangerous that way. We're having a hard time dealing with it, but
Right.
it's really easy to spread a message.
Well,
So,
we have this very old idea of censorship back when there were just a few national newspapers and there were only a few news channels and there was like a government entity. That was
Right.
it. You had a few channels of where you could source information reliably. Whereas
Right.
the idea of real censorship in this day and age is almost laughable when you have access to the fucking internet.
Exactly.
Like it you can kind of put a pillow over a face of people. Like that's kind of what these
Dude,
platforms are doing. But Alex Jones is not going anywhere. He's going to keep doing his shit and he's going to keep posting content. He's just going to have to find a different medium to do it. And I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
I'm sure he absolutely will keep doing what he's doing. This is not going to stop him creating content.
Two things. In this day and age, it is so even the most censored countries, there's information starting to trickle through. Even North Korea, man, they do have internet access there for some people. Like it's and the second point, China does censor stuff, but like there's only so much they can do. It's, you know, come on. Like the wave is just, technology is a wave that you can't stop. I don't care who you are, right? And that goes along the lines of like, look, we can upload tons of data to the smallest little USB drives that are waterproof and everything proof, and we can just shower a country with them and have people plug them into something and figure crap out. Like technology is wonderful. Technology is the way of the future. It's going to be great. It's going to, like, this is what I love about technology too. As much as I lean left, government,
do you lean left
already? If they're not already, I'm a communist. If government's not already looking at what they're going to do to start being more quicker and efficient with solving problems, technology is going to beat them to the punch, because we have a younger generation that's more willing to be a part of a collective, work together, right? And if government's not going to deliver it for us, dude, there's so many, it's wonderful what we have these days. These like GoFundMe stuff, like all this stuff is incredible. Like anybody can come up with a great idea and just slap it on GoFundMe. And if you get enough support, you've just raised a bunch of money.
I know,
like, this
it's crazy.
This is making me fired up right now. Go ahead.
I see these videos of these suppressed technologies on YouTube, videos of these supposed suppressed technologies of infinite energy machines or machines that can that are self-generating. It's like, in this day and age, how can you still buy into that when the information is absolutely there and anybody who's motivated enough, any group of people can crowdfund anything that they want to? Like, there's no, suppressed technology is kind of like, it's kind of it's a conspiracy that should just absolutely lose traction. That doesn't even make sense. How could that be a thing these days?
Such a fun conversation to have too. Think about this. Think about a day when the whole country is, no matter where you are, connected to some like 5G high speed band. Like, incredible, dude. Just I want to see that day. I'd love to see that.
It's going to be way better than that if we can manage it.
Oh, it's going to be great if we can get satellites in the sky that do like 10G and we don't even need to like build things. Like, come on, dude. It's going to be, I remember growing up and dad being a huge sci-fi fan and him always saying like, I just want to live as long as I can. I want to see all these things. And as you get older, you understand, you know, like,
right.
Oh man, like the especially when like as not even just as humanity, but as evolution, there's like there's a scale of progress, right? And for a long time, that scale was really, really small. And then once humans evolved, it started getting more and more sharp, right? Right. And now internet and data and like connectivity is making that thing like go really, really
Exponential.
hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't say straight up because who knows about the possibilities, but man, it's fun to talk about and think about, right? Like, government, it's fun to think about a time when even a leftist has to admit that if government fails to keep up, we can just collectively come together and create our own entities and solve our own problems. That's wonderful. Like,
could you foresee a future where people start trying to belong to online collectives where they try and fund their own?
I could see a future where
crowdsourced people getting directly involved with solving problems in their society, like
they already are.
Sidestepping civics completely.
They already are. There's already things like that happening. When someone doesn't have health care and something tragic happens to them, you set up a GoFundMe to save them and give them chemotherapy for their cancer. That's already saved lives. And that's just one example. That's unbelievable. And I would say this, Chad, I see that. Were you trying to make it like it might be dangerous or concerning?
No.
Oh, okay. So basically, I thought you were trying to say like, what
let's repave this road, and people are so frustrated they fucking, you know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yes,
you know what I mean.
Awesome. So like, technology allows competition in the free market to serve the public good as it should, because it's so easy to expose corruption, right? I don't like free markets if we don't have technology, because you can hide things so easily and be corrupt and steal and take advantage. But if we have connectivity and technology, that can run as it should someday, hopefully, because you can instantly expose. You can instantly just be like, this person's crap. That's wonderful. Oh my gosh. So hard.
Now, I'm still curious as to whether or not Caleb sides with InfoWars or if he sides with these media platforms.
I struggle. Ultimately, I probably land on the side of the media platforms. But I also, again, cringe at the idea that they're the ones that get to make that decision. Like, that's tough for me.
Yeah. And to your point, we still live in an age where there's a reason why these YouTubers haven't left YouTube, right? There's still power in it. We're not there yet. And that's to your point. I get that. So like, if you're not on iPod's podcast, are you really reaching as many people as you can as a podcast? No way. So
there's just a level of convenience that exists right now. And that's where the power, I think, lies, is because we're all, we habitually go to that. You know, that's where we go for all of our stuff.
Sure. That stuff is fascinating to think about. So, all right, I was gonna ask you guys about one more thing, if you guys didn't mind.
That me.
I wanted to kind of ask you guys, after all of these headlines that we've seen about kind of residual effects of the tariffs that have been placed, I kind of wonder where you guys are at with your thinking on tariffs, because, and I'll start off with my thinking. I have evolved a lot on especially since we have to admit this, none of us are trained economics. Like, we don't really, we're just kind of spitballing here, which we love to do.
I'm a master genius, but go ahead.
Okay, never mind. I'm speaking for myself, but
Chiming in is also a master genius.
So I this idea of asking you guys and talking to you guys about this kind of got sparked when I watched a video today, and it was an ABC video where they went down to Missouri and they went to a nail factory, right? And this nail factory does not process steel at all. They just buy the raw material and make nails. They used to buy that raw material from China, right? Because it was really cheap. And now that there's tariffs, they had to lay off a lot of people, and they're not sure if they can survive past a couple years from now, even as a company at all, right? So that's one side of the tariff debate. And then ABC did a great job of the second half of the video. They went 70 miles east of where they were in Missouri, and they went to a aluminum processing facility that used to be running before China aggressively underpriced our aluminum here. It used to, I think it ran as recently as like 2010, but had to shut down, right? But now, since there's tariffs, they actually opened back up and they're hiring people. So I think I used to think that tariffs were more necessary than maybe I think now. I used to think that tariffs were really needed to kind of like combat the kind of trade practices that happen these days. And like, we needed to be way more protectionist than we were. And we should have been doing that before. But, and this is just one video. I'm just reacting to it, to be fair. But it really seems like it's just a trade-off. Everything feels like a trade-off. Like, these things are so complicated that, like, okay, some jobs are leaving, but now some jobs are coming back. Like, it's all just a trade-off. And I don't know, I guess what you really have to ask yourself with the tariff question is, like, what really the only way forward is whatever outcome you want to see. So, like, you know, if you're Donald Trump and you see political capital in doing tariffs and railing on that, then you do it. But, you know, you could easily be on the other side of that table. Like, it just feels like it's just a wash. And especially with the whole like farm bailout too, it just feels like, I don't know. Basically my question is like, do you feel like it's working or not? Does anybody feel like definitively? Because it just feels like it's a wash.
I don't know. I feel like we haven't given it enough time for it to do what it may or may not
fair.
do. You know, I think it's too early to tell. I definitely see what you're saying. You know, and I'll go back to what I was saying before, like the what ifs, and it's a big what if. I'll give you that 100%. But what if Trump wins something out of China somehow? Then would it be worth paying farmers, you know, giving them the golden crutch, as I believe a Nebraska senator put it, if I'm not mistaken, giving farmers the gold crutch to be able to negotiate against China and say, look, we're going to bolster this for as long as we can because we feel like we have China in a position where they're going to have to negotiate. You know, and that's one of the principles of negotiating is being able to say, I'm good, you're not.
Right.
Right. So my argument here, I guess, is, and quite frankly, I don't think it's going to work out this way. But again, we're back to the what ifs. What if it does work, and what if he makes something happen?
Sure, then great. I mean,
where are we on the what if? You know?
Yeah,
Because
America
right now
does
the
have
attitude
the spending
is
power.
that it's a wash right now, is what Cyril is saying.
I told you
a little bit, right?
Yeah, I told you last Thursday. There's no question I wanted something like that farm bailout to happen. Like, at the end of the day, if Americans are hurting, don't play political games with it. Like, regardless of why we put these tariffs on, and it's because Trump won, so he deserves to do whatever the hell he wants with it. If it's not jurisdiction. If people are hurting, then you should help them. We should not just be like, fuck you, farmers. No.
But I think what's interesting here is he's killing two birds with one stone, and some would say three in a slightly illegal manner. But number one, he's helping the farmer. Number two, he's putting America in a position where we can negotiate with China. And some say illegally to some degree. Number three, he's buying votes for the next election.
Wait, how is he helping the farmer?
By making sure that they don't go fucking...
Because he bailed them out.
So they don't stop farming.
Sure.
So he's covering
temporarily. He's helping the farmer.
But the point
right now, he's actually hindering the farmer. But he has to help as a result. Right.
But
okay.
the idea here is that he wouldn't hinder, because if he makes a positive negotiation with China, then they're going to be making more money, because we're in a position economically to be making more money.
They're just going to go back to selling the same shit they were selling before. Right? Because isn't he trying to bring back like industry to America? We sell a shitload of agriculture to China, but we're not trying to strike any new deals on agriculture, are we?
No, but you know, ipso facto, if you strike positive deals with China, like my farming equipment might be cheaper.
Okay, sure. Just
I see what you're saying. It's generally helping the economy. And his viewpoint right now is I have to make sure that two things. Number one, China can't call me on a bluff by saying your farmers will revolt, so I'll just wait that out. right? Or your political system will come fucking storming at your step because you're putting them in a bad situation. And number two, since I am putting them in a kind of a bad situation, I'm going to make sure that they're taken care of as well.
Right.
Like, you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. I don't want to call it a smart move or a genius move or anything like that, but I feel like I get what he's trying. And what I find interesting is that I don't think, aside from being forced into a position like President Obama was, like, he had no choice for TARP bailouts. He had no choice but to do something, right? The fucking economy was falling apart. He had no choice. In this situation, Trump is intentionally going out of his way to put our country in a position to negotiate, which I feel like economically is not something we've really ever done. We've always been the kind of like the powerhouse, right? So there's not really negotiating to be had. Whereas over the last 8 years, some people would say we don't have that power anymore.
Yeah. Some would say, though, you might lose that negotiating tact against China.
There's
There's
again,
a
he very
lot
well
of
might.
people in China.
You're 100% correct. I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I'm merely pointing out, like, what
It
I
just
think
depends on. Look,
I mean, how much-
China benefits from only having to pay their workers shit, and because of that, they can dump steel and aluminum on the markets under value because they don't have to pay shit for their workers.
Well, we do buy a
And
lot of their
because of that,
shit,
it undercuts American steel and aluminum. Everybody knows that. That's just fact. Okay, so if this works and he gets China to say, okay, guess what? We'll raise our prices a little bit. We'll make sure that we're pricing it so that we're not killing all the manufacturing out there as far as steel and aluminum. All right, cool. We'll see. But that hasn't happened, and we'll have to see. So
I just merely want to point out the what if. Like, what if he actually does get something negotiated? What if it is
fair enough. Well
a
done.
positive outcome?
Yeah.
Do you think in
Get
the
China to
future
stop
people
dumping.
will try to make similar moves? Because quite frankly, I don't think that'll ever really happen because nobody has. I don't want to call it balls because I think that's mischaracterizing what it is. It's kind of almost like a misguided attempt to negotiate with China. But like, if it works one time, like, shit.
It's a power move at the cost of your own business people, is what it is.
Right.
It's very brave to do if you're trying to stay in power.
Like, there's an old adage about that, like the difference between bravery and stupidity. You know, and I'm not entirely sure which one it is right now. I can't put my thumb on it. Is it him being brave or is it him being like, ugh, woof?
Well,
That's
it can
not
be
the smartest thing ever.
Well, it can be one and then end up being the other.
For sure.
So it can him start out by, I mean, no matter what, he's fighting. He's literally fighting. He's a Republican, and Republicans ran and stood for free trade for so many years. Like, this is him being brave already.
Oh yeah, 'cause
it's
he is senator. He
it-
is Republican senators, and
Yeah, right. So he's already
telling
being
him to
brave
stop.
as far as thinking outside the box, stepping outside the box of his own public, party's orthodoxy and thought process. But could it end up being stupid? Sure. But we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. Time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see. I see all these. I was fascinated by it because I used to be someone who definitely, I don't know. Once again, not like we all know necessarily. We're not economic fucking masterminds, but I just had a feeling that before I had a feeling that we just needed to be a lot more protectionist. And now honestly, these things are just detailed and complicated. You need someone who, knows what they're doing and can get in there, and you need someone intelligent to come to agree to a deal that almost hoodwinks the other country but benefits us, but it leaves them feeling like they're not. And I just don't know if Trump's that kind of a negotiator. I feel like Trump just comes in, does what he wants, leaves, doesn't pay, and pisses everyone off. That's like his history in real estate. So if he's on the phone with these world leaders having that approach, then oh man, I don't know. That's not great. But once again, you do have to see. So there's people and we all know that there's people on the far left that are still very much for tariffs in some form. Bernie's on the same page with Trump on tariffs. So Interesting how politics works these days.
Well, Trump also repealed what was it? TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Bernie was also running on that platform. Trump put a stop to that pretty quickly.
I'm also one big thing.
Again, we have to remember that just because somebody's shitty, that doesn't mean they can do no right.
Oh, right.
Like, you can't just assume that everything that comes from one side is trash because they've done trash things.
But one thing
that's just reckless.
One thing that does make me bitter. So they passed this tax cut last December. I've made no bones many times on this podcast that I thought it was stupid and it's not going to help the middle class as much as they think it is going to. I think it just benefits the rich for the most part. But let's talk about tariffs. Tariffs are a tax. Don't tell me they're not. They are. That's factual. Tariffs are a tax. And where does this price get passed to? Do you think that these companies, when they see these companies got a whole bunch of money last December, and when they get a whole bunch of money, do you think they just like share it with everyone equally? No, it stays up at the top a lot. I guarantee it. Okay. When they see, oh, now we have tariffs. Now these, instead of being given money, money's being taken away. Where do you think that buck gets passed to? That gets passed to the consumer because people at the top are like, nope. Well, look, our prices went up 20%, so we're just going to raise the price 20%.
I don't know.
Well,
That's always necessarily true. Like,
no, it's not.
Marketplace, like,
sure.
Sometimes they do actually have to eat the cost in order to stay in business for a little longer.
I agree.
So let's not completely paint this off.
I agree, but
right.
And maybe my common sense isn't so common in this case. That's fine, but this is how I feel, and I'm going to say it. I just don't think that in a boardroom when talking to your investors, about your quarterly profit, that they want to hear we're going to have to eat all the cost, like most of the cost of this. I don't think that happens. Do they have to eat a little bit of the cost? Is there always some cost they have to eat? Okay, that's of course. They have to eat costs to operate every day too. But there's no question that I feel like these people try to pass the buck as low as it can go because shareholders put that pressure on them. Like, hey, we don't want it to come out of our pay. And guess who has direct control over the board? Who makes the decisions? Them. So they're going to say, pass it on to the other people. We don't want to pay that. That's just how I feel. I don't think these shareholders are sitting there saying, spread it around. We're going to be good to everybody. No, come on.
It's objective. I mean, each situation is different. There's absolutely people that are like, nah, fuck the consumer. And then there's also people are like, well, if we fuck the consumer, we will go out of business.
I agree. And I don't think anybody says fuck the consumer. I don't think anybody's that aggressive. I really, truly don't. I don't want to make it sound like that.
I think there's a handful.
I think that it's all about money. And by the way, I don't even blame them for that because we talk about capitalism and the way that we've set up a lot of these marketplaces. Like, yeah, like we've emphasized in this society to, making the money. And that's fine. It's just for me, if we want to keep going down that road, we need to start providing a lot more social services and do more because this money is going to get funneled upward. If you're not doing anything about stemming the upward money flow, then you're going to have to figure out how to serve the rest of the population because, eventually this is going to be the French. No, I'm not going to exaggerate, but it's people aren't stupid. And even in this age of tremendous wealth being built and last quarter, 4% GDP growth, people who are part of the lower middle to lower class, like they're not dumb. They're not seeing a lot of that wealth. When the stock market's great, when corporations get their taxes cut, okay, that's not gonna get wages to go up. It's been proven. I mean, look at the data for the last 20 years. Like people are going to notice, they're going to be pissed. Now, I think, and I've said this plenty of times, I think technology helps a lot of the poorest, even in our country, live at levels that allow them to become comfortable enough that there's no like brewing revolution. That's ridiculous. I'm not trying to say that, but I think people do notice that there's a problem with concentrated wealth in this country. And I do think that, like I said, the internet and technology allows people to live at lower wages, but also be able to purchase more, right? So like electronics are a lot cheaper now, even though wage growth hasn't gone up. Like a lot of stuff is a lot cheaper now. So like technology makes it cheaper to still be comfortable, but there's always that line that if you make enough people dip under that comfortable line, you're going to make society a little unstable and they're going to be a little unhappy. So So we'll see what happens. I when I rail against the tax cut last December, the jury's obviously still out. We're 6 months into it. Like, I don't sit here and say that we're never going to see a trickle down effect. We've done this before and we didn't see it. And there's the data's there to prove it. I can pull it up. Like, it's there. So we'll see what happens. I saw this, the last thing I'll say, and we'll cut it, and I have to find it, but it was a fascinating video on YouTube. It was basically the CEO of, I can't remember what company it was. It might have been Aetna or something, talking about how, like, corporations have in a lot of ways failed workers and failed to really emphasize the needs of everybody in a company, as opposed to just especially large corporations, those at the top, and how we can, like, maybe start taking steps to do a little better. I gotta find it because it was fascinating. Not that I necessarily agreed with him or anybody would, but it's quite fascinating. See. You guys burnt out?
No, just unfortunately trying to do things at the same time, which isn't working very well.
You're good. I'm gonna cut it a little earlier anyways, don't worry.
That's fair.
So that's super fascinating. It's literally only 3 minutes. Oh wait, that's part 4 of 4. Dang it. Oh yeah, no, that's the one I saw. 3-minute video, quite fascinating.
I'll take a look for sure.
Yeah, I think what the guy says in there is pretty on point. We got to figure out a way to bridge this disconnect between the top and bottoms of these large corporations, because this disconnect is really disservicing the lower rungs of these corporations. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. I definitely see where you're coming from.
I see small, and I started at a small place and we're still small. And I know a lot of people who work at small places. I know a good amount of people that work at larger corporations, and there's more of a connection. There's more fulfillment. There's more, like, you're appreciated at a smaller place just because everybody knows everybody. But if you work in a company of 100,000 people, it just starts that the corporate structure just becomes so detached that you're just your commodity. Like, we don't treat workers, especially blue collar ones at lower rungs of these corporations. We don't treat them as human beings. We just treat them as commodities, and we're telling them, oh, well, leverage your skills against the market. It's like, okay, well, that's not wrong, but sometimes, like, it doesn't work out that way. It's not perfect. And if, like, I can't even imagine if we didn't have a $7 minimum wage. Like, I'm sure people would get paid less than that.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it would be much less. It would be a little less, but not. I don't think it would be absurd. Because I think most people would be like, fuck it, I'm not working.
But where are you going to get money then? How are you going to exist?
I don't know. It's
because welfare is not a thing. Welfare is not a thing. Unemployment's a thing.
Chill.
Go ahead.
I agree with you. It's not. Relax.
Right.
Hold on. What I liken it to, and this is what I struggle with, if I look at something simple like TVs, for example, right? How much regulation is there on televisions? The making of a television.
Probably a bunch.
But not nearly like
I actually don't
industry, not like working, not like any of that stuff, right? The regulations on making televisions and selling televisions is pretty limited, right? And in the last 20 years, we've gone from huge blocky televisions to you can buy a damn 60, 70-inch TV for like $500.
Yeah.
Whereas like 15 years ago, that would be $20,000, and it would be 8 times heavier and 4 times deeper. You know what I mean? Like this is where I struggle. Where do you cut off the?
Yeah, but that's technology driving the price down on things, and there's no limit to that. That's why I love technology. Technology is going to make things be public service before they even are supposed to. Like,
right.
That's why I love technology. But that doesn't mean that wages have been going up with inflation for the past 30 years for middle class workers.
That's good
at all. Yeah,
I hear you. Let me drive it in a slightly different direction then. Do you think there should be a universal basic income?
I don't know. I don't.
Now, before you answer that,
I just don't know.
Let me lob a grenade your way.
Go ahead.
What about when self-driving cars are real? That's going to put millions of Americans out of work.
Oh my God, it sure is.
In literally the blink of an eye, in 20 years, 2 million, 3 million Americans will be out of work. Whether it's driving trucks, taxis, grocery vehicles, like you name it. I think
it's more than that, honestly.
I think
sure. My point is,
it's a lot.
That's a significant portion of your population, of your working population, mind you, that is going to be out of a job. And the more that I look at technology and the rate of technology, because initially I was like, universal basic income, like that's not going to work, is it? That doesn't make sense right now. But the more I look at this technology and how fast it's going to be, I'm like, oof, maybe we do have to look at this.
I agree with you on some level. I do, but I don't know. If you're a government, you can fight back. Okay, let's say Elon Musk comes to you in 2025 and he says to you, look, in 5 years, this technology, and you knew for sure, which you never know for sure because he's made, predictions and people have made predictions. But let's say you knew for sure that at some point, millions of truck drivers were going to be out of work. Why can't you start fighting back against that? Like, train these guys. Make sure that when they lose their jobs, they're on unemployment for X amount of time to get back on their feet.
So fast. Like,
spend money to re-educate them. That's fine, but you can always fight back against. There's always a plan for something. If it happens that fast, then you go on unemployment even if it happens the same day and they don't know it's coming. You put them all on unemployment. You start building a plan. You start training them in a month. Give them opportunities train them in whatever. Ask them what they want to do.
That's a lot of fucking people. Millions of people.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
So we're at a point with the technology. We're at a point with the technology that it's going to start really displacing people in the next 10 years. Within 10 years.
I'm trying to solve it. You tell me how you're going to solve it then.
Workers. I'm saying you might have to look at universal basic income.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe not as a permanent solution, but once you start seeing an exodus of a lot of these workers, and it's going to come quick.
Sure, and I can't predict that. Look, it's government. I can't even predict that it goes smoothly. Can they just adjust right away? No, they literally can't do that. It's government. So I'm not saying that would work. What are you going to do? Just give up? Just be like, oh, we just got to give up?
No, you don't give up.
UBI is giving up in some form. You're not trying to
That's not giving up.
Not giving up. That's a realistic.
I said in some form. I didn't say in total form. I'm just saying in my eyes.
No, but once these jobs start getting replaced by robots that can do it way better than we ever could, what are you going to replace that with? Right. It's not giving up as much as technology honestly makes having a job unsustainable. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you're looking, let's not say in the next 50 to 100, but let's look at even 200, 300 years. You could see a future in which jobs are literally an unsustainable resource.
Yeah.
How do you counteract that?
Oh, my rebuttal to that is that's not what I'm talking about. I don't have no idea. You're right. Well, I'm talking about when the truck drivers lose their jobs because that's sooner than 200, 300 years, buddy. And we're going to have to figure it out. And so that's what I'm saying. You want to talk about UBI in 400 years, you're probably right.
Let me throw something your way. And I hope that I never unintentionally disparage somebody who drives a truck, but of the people who drive the truck right now, what percentage of them do you believe could take on any number of the jobs that are currently available in the United States market? Which most of them, by the way, are things like computer programming, engineering, et cetera, et cetera. Realistically, how many of them do you think could get into those fields?
All of them could get jobs. I just don't know that they would. I don't think they would be the equivalent pay or the equivalent stature in the community. You probably have to
because here's
work
what I
some
think,
crap
right?
retail job. Sure.
Because you have a minimum wage right now, because I do think this partially factors in, very small, but partially factors in. Let's say 3 million people they're out of work now. They're going to go and compete for whatever jobs are available currently. Now, more often than not, that person may be more qualified to do, let's say, forklift operating. Well, even then, that's probably going to be gone. So that's a poor example. Give me another example of something somebody can do that's like low-end work. Call center, let's say, call center work. Now that you have 3 million more people readily available, the wage may not decrease because of a minimum wage, but the qualifications necessary to get that job have now increased for the same wage.
Right,
Because you
there's more
have a
competition.
surplus of work, right?
Sure.
How's that helpful? That's not helping anybody,
No,
right?
it's not. But that's the reality of it.
So
Literally,
in
what's
reality,
factual
you're
about
going to
this
have millions of people who are going to be out of work.
Sure. So tell me what we're gonna do. I'm trying to.
That's why
ideas.
I'm merely throwing out the idea of
Right.
universal basic income.
So a lot of these truck drivers make good money. It's actually lucrative right now because a lot of people don't want to drive a truck. So you're gonna put these guys who make let's say an average truck driver makes $45,000 to $50,000 a year.
Sure.
You're just gonna pay these guys straight $45,000 to $50,000 a year.
That's not.
Okay,
I'm merely saying.
So let's say.
So if you want me to put it into perspective, then what if universal basic income for everybody looks like, no matter what, you get $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month.
It supplements it.
$1,000 a month.
Sure.
Right. Some people can live off $1,000 a month easily. Some people can't.
Very few people can live on $1,000 a month.
If I was single, I could.
I was going to say only single people who are willing to live in the poorest neighborhood. That's like the only people who would ever get away.
$1,000 a month is such. That's nothing.
Rent alone is going to be $5 in a poor neighborhood. Oh my God! How do you get by?
That'd be very impressive if you live on $1,000 a month. Even minimum wage.
Not a living wage at all.
Like full-time minimum wage is way more than
But
$1,000.
UBI, I'm thinking UBI isn't
As a
the intent
supplement.
isn't to
I agree.
replace said wage. It's to supplement the potential.
That's the only thing I was pushing back on.
Right. And now imagine if we did universal basic income and we charged a higher tax rate to corporations because now they don't need workers in a lot of industries now, so they get charged a higher wage to supplement this UBI, I guess. Or they get some sort of a trade-off to where some of those goods and services are provided for, you know, whatever cost to replace that UBI. I don't know. I feel like there's a potential solution in there where maybe the future for humans looks like an average work week isn't 40 to 80 hours a week. It's 20 hours a week.
Sure.
It's 15 hours a week.
Yeah, I think I know that you weren't trying to say like people can live on 12,000. I know that. And I know that you were trying to say like, hey, supplemental. I get that. I think that works, right? Like, let's say these truck drivers, it's harder to find a job because you're right. It's actually going to be harder to find a job, and they just end up making less because, like, look, there's less to go around. So maybe this money supplements their income, right? And fills those gaps that they had before. And that makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is now you got to convince a bunch of these truck drivers to just take a job that sucks and say, oh, well, it'll be fine. We're going to supplement your pay. But like, what if someone really enjoyed driving trucks and now they got to go work at like Best Buy?
No, I hear you. But what if?
Yeah, it gets
let me counteract that and say, what if you get your $12,000 a year plus you make another $12,000 at Best Buy, but you're only working 10 or 15 hours a week? What do you think you could do with all that extra time?
Monetize it in some way, sure, and supplement, sure.
Or why monetize it? Why not?
Or just spend it.
Have the opportunity to be creative. Why not have the opportunity to do things that maybe you never would have done? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's the potential there to allow humans to push their own personal boundaries, whether it be physically, creatively. I don't know. There's a million different ways to do it. Like for me, if I only had to work 15 hours a week, I'd be doing fucking mad ultra marathons. I feel like that's what I would be training for.
Mm-hmm.
I would spend my time trying to get in shape to run a 100-mile race.
I'll be shaking hands and kissing babies.
Yeah, did you see my point though?
Sure.
Like
I do.
maybe that's what UBI turns into, is
Mhm.
a way to supplement so that you're not. I mean, right now, for
I
example,
agree.
I'm on a salary and I feel like I work fucking 60, 70 hours a week on a
Mhm.
damn salary. And I'm spending my life doing what? Progressing the ideas and profit margins of a corporation? Like, what am I
Correct.
really doing with my life? Maybe UBI is a way to start getting humans towards a better, fulfilling type of life.
I agree. I think when we talk about supplemental, I think that's right. I think that's if it's going to be supplemental, then yeah, I just um
Chad, where are you at on this?
he's been bouncing in and out. By the way,
Oh, okay.
I'm cutting all this out. I mean,
Oh, that's fair.
yeah,
But I'm just for me, like, let's explore the human consciousness. Like, let's see what humans can do when they have the time to do stuff and not have to
Mhm.
worry so much about their job or, et cetera,
Well,
et
and look,
cetera.
like I said, um,
I think there's
and
something to
to
be
your
said there.
point, yeah, like I said earlier in the pod, and to your point, like, look, if you want to fight back against something that technology can solve eventually, you're gonna lose that battle.
For sure. 100
You're
times out
just
of
gonna
100.
lose that battle, right? So
Wait, hold on.
let's play some Rocket League. Where's Chad?
Sorry, man, I'm back.
No worries. I was gonna say let's play a couple games of Rocket League. I was gonna go.
Let's do it. I still have like
What is Chad doing?
at least 2 more hours worth of work I gotta do.
Oh, dude, we could have cut this.
What's going on, bro? Hello?
Can you play Rocket League or not?
All right, I'm going
Hello?
into the chat.
Go to Discord.
Go to Discord.
Okay.